Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Boleyn Lounge. I'm Jeff, and another Tuesday talk show. Although I'm on my own at the moment, as you can see, so I'm not sure how much of a talk show it's going to be. So if you're in the live chat, please get involved, and I'll do my best to trundle on my own for the time being. I just wanted to say at the top of the show, we've had a few new subscribers over the last couple of weeks, so I'd like to thank all the new subscribers for coming on board. Much appreciated. And also to all of you that have supported us week in, week out through the rest of the year. Thank you very much. It really is appreciated. And if you're watching this video and you haven't yet subscribed, please take the time just to click the subscribe button and give the video a like. And it really does help the channel, and share a bit of goodwill at this time of year. It'd be much appreciated. Thanks very much. Right, okay, in the time being, on with the show. And this week we took on Bournemouth away. See, James is be here in 10 minutes, so I'll try and stumble on through on my own for 10 minutes. So Bournemouth away this week. I've seen some varying feedback on what people's views on what it was. Some think it was a pretty poor, boring sort of game. Others think it was a pretty good display. My views, there's a pretty decent away performance. First half, I think we edged it. Could have perhaps gone in front. Didn't quite get a goal, but I think we're pretty fair for 0-0 at half time. Probably the better team. Second half, Bournemouth came out. Undoubtedly, they're the better team. Second half. Awarded what I think is a dodgy penalty, but again, we've seen others suggest that they think it's a pretty stonewall penalty, or not. Maybe not stonewall. Maybe that's a little bit strong, but in their view, it's a penalty. I think we're a little bit fortunate. I think I'd be pretty upset if that was given against us. But anyway, Paqueta steps up, tucks the penalty away really coolly. Nice reaction from Paqueta, running over to Lopetegui there, showing bit of respect to the manager, who's showed some faith in him, because I was a bit surprised that he was still on to take the penalty, if I'm honest. Didn't think he'd had his best game again. Seems to be varying opinions on that, whether he had a good game or not. I don't think he was bad, but I think he definitely could have been one of the players that was substituted. But Lopetegui showed faith in him, stuck with him, and Paqueta showed a bit of respect back to him when he tucked the penalty away. So I thought that was pretty nice. We just need to see the game out there. Bournemouth come on strong, as they do towards the end of games. And Mavropanos, he dives in with an unnecessary challenge. And then the problem with Mavropanos is he's kind of got one of those catastrophic mistakes in him every game. He got away with one against Wolves, not conceding a penalty, and he didn't get away with one there. And Unal steps up, takes a terrific free kick, in fairness to him, and 1-1, and Bournemouth probably could have gone and won it from there. They really pushed hard in the remainder of the game. But we did hold on, get a good away point. Like I say, and for those that say, it's only Bournemouth and we should be beating them, and I think it's true. We probably should be saying the stature of West Ham should be above Bournemouth, and we should be going there with confidence. But in the context of where we are now, where Bournemouth are now, and in the season that they're having, I don't know if we have any Bournemouth fans that would tune in or view this back, but I don't think they would be offended if I was to say that they're probably performing above their expectations where they might be in the table, but they're in really good form. They've got a good home record, and we were well worth the point overall, I think. So let us know what your views are on the game anyway. One of the other positives was Ollie Skiles. He came on. He didn't look out of place at all. Really pleased for him. I've been a fan of his for a while. He had a big injury setback. It's put him back a year. He's got around the edge of the first team now, and he cannot have done himself any harm whatsoever. So good luck to him, and I hope Lopetegui seizes the opportunity to give him some more chances and some more minutes, a bit more exposure in the Premier League. He certainly looks the part. Defensively, I thought he did well, and he looked after the ball pretty well. He didn't look out of place. He got forward, put in a couple of lovely crosses. So for the short time he was on the pitch, real positive to see all his goals. I'll just say good evening to everyone in the chat. I've got Toha, evening Toha, thanks for joining us, and Matt, evening Matt. And Matt says that free kick is goal of the month contender. Yeah, it was absolute cracker. I mean, it's annoying from Mavropanos diving in like that and making a stupid challenge. I don't think he needs to make it at all, but a piece of brilliance to score from there. And some have criticised Fabianski. I've seen a little bit as well, but I think you've got to give credit where credit's due sometimes. And annoying that we conceded the free kick, but terrific strike from Unal. Brendan says he's been watching the young guns at Sutton leading 1-0 at the moment. I'd tell you, it's great to see the youth doing well, and they're having another good season. I think they've had a couple of blips along the way, but they seem to have picked up again. And Torres says, I guess Mav did not think fouling a guy that far out would be an issue. It was that far out. It wasn't that far. I mean, it was about 25 yards, something like that, just outside the D, centre of the goal. And like I said, just a challenge he just doesn't need to make. Evening, Ian. Thanks for joining us, mate. And Matt says Mavropanos is just not good enough. I tend to agree, and I think we've got a little bit of a problem there. And I've been quite busy over the last week or so, so I haven't picked up a lot of football over the weekends. Watched a bit of Match of the Day and that, and even yesterday was a really busy day. So I didn't really find out about the Dinos Todibo rumour until just before the game yesterday, and well, it's a bit of a worry. Todibo's getting in fights with the manager allegedly, and now perhaps with Dinos. And you have to worry about is he a problem in the dressing room, or is his character a bit of a problem? Which is a shame, because I do think that him and Kilman are a better pairing than Mavropanos, and Mavropanos probably does a better job for us, if anywhere, filling in at right back when needed. He just causes too many errors for me from Mavropanos. Tadibo's not error free, but I just think he's a much smoother player. He's just much more competent and comfortable on the ball. And Ian says he agrees that Mav won't make it long term in the Premier League, and we need better. And yeah, he's been worryingly bad this season. He started the season. I thought he was at fault for one of the goals in the corner against Villa. I thought he got caught under the ball. He wasn't the only one. Antonio lost his man that day. And he went on from there and pretty much made an error every game, some leading to goals, others getting away with, which is why he lost his place. And now he's come in a little bit through necessity, with Todibo having some little niggles and injuries and the fallouts. So we're in a bit of a tough spot in centre halves at the moment. James has just joined in the green room. Give us a thumbs up when you're ready, James, and I'll bring you in. Cool. Lovely evening, James. Thanks for joining me.
How's it going, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad, mate. How are you?
All good, mate. All good. All good.
Good, good. Just sort of running through what I thought of the game. I've heard saying varying reports or views, if you like. Some thought it was not too clever. Others thought it was pretty good. My view was pretty decent away performance. Good point against an informed team. How did you see it, James?
Good. It's a point gained, and it's a good point at that. Do you know what I mean? I think what it is, I think you got to look at it that take the emotion out of it. It's a good away point. We played all right. We was in the game for the vast majority of the game. We're in the head. There's just little things that's happening behind the scenes with players that, for me, needs to be sorted out if we're going to move forward as a club. Do you know what I'm saying? Like the Tadibo thing is a bit of an issue. Like apparently he weren't there because of an injured toe, which I just don't believe it. I just don't buy it. Whether people were saying it's true or not, and there's from higher sources are saying, oh, he's injured. Yeah, whatever. Mavropanos for me is a liability. That's another game now where he's made a mistake, and I thought he was playing all right last night. But the problem is with him playing all right, there's always a mistake there with him. Do you know what I mean? So it's yeah, it's a
Trouble
good
is,
point.
James, he's regards Mavropanos. He played all right, made a mistake, cost
Mm,
us a goal. Last week, he played all right, made a mistake, should have cost us a goal.
yeah,
And he just seems to make catastrophic errors.
yeah, yeah. He's a liability at the minute. Um, I just listen. Like at the end of the day, that free kick's a world class free kick, top corner, like and. The issue is that we shoot ourselves in the foot. There's so many games this year where we've been in the game and then we've let ourselves down. Do you know what I mean? Defensively. Um, when I look at it back at last night, the only thing I can say is you can start seeing something happening there is in play, but we just what it is, we just haven't got the end product. That's the only problem. The end product's lacking at the minute, and that is what the real problem is at present.
It's been interesting. I've been thinking about this a little bit today, actually. But on this channel, Lopetegui came in, start of the season. We've been a bit like he needs time. There's been a lot of players. He's trying to change quite a lot of things at West Ham. And there were glimpses of 45 minutes here and there where you could say, oh, we can see things coming together. And then it all seemed to fall apart. And then we sort of had the run where we had Spurs, and even though we won Manchester United and Everton, Forest,
Mm,
Chelsea, all those kind of performances, and it was getting really, really alarming. And then if you throw in performances like we had at Newcastle, to a degree at Leicester, even though we lost the game, I thought we played quite brightly in large periods of that game. We just got caught out. We're a little bit naive and
yeah,
played into their hands a little bit. Wolves, that's a difficult one, isn't it? Because Lopetegui's job is on the line, blatantly on the line. The pressure cooker is like absolutely steam blowing out the top. And then you've got Antonio's crash and injury and all of the emotion and everything that's wrapped up in that. So really, really difficult fixture, that one. We got over the line. You can question whether Wolves were hard done by or not, but we got a result. And then we, in large parts, we played well last night. Again, 45 minutes were better than the other 45, but pretty good away performance. You factor in the Brentford result now. When you look
mm.
that the only points they've dropped at home is against us, that's looking a better point every week.
Yeah.
So
I
You
know, Jeff,
just
but
wonder, is there signs? Is there the shoots there? Or is he just having a little bit of good fortune over the last couple of weeks? Like for one reason or another, some players have lifted their game.
mm,
And is it all going to come crashing down over the next three fixtures? Because we seem to go three fixtures at a time.
the only thing I will say is we have got to remember last night, Ariola kept us in that game like a few times. Like, and he was great.
Fabianski,
Oh, yeah, Fabianski, sorry.
yeah, he was
Uh, uh,
superb, wasn't he?
Ariola sitting on the bench. But yeah, Fabianski last night was keeping us in that game. And
Sure.
like, I think we've got to really take that into account. I don't really remember us creating a lot other than hitting the post and having like
Ah,
the hitting the crossbar and the four crook header, which was straight at him. Other than
Suchik
that,
scores if it was not for the toe that takes it past the post.
yeah.
Soler shaves the bottom of the post. We
Mm,
created some good openings, didn't just quite get some luck.
mm.
Kilman was unlucky with a header, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's a deflected header, and it goes over the bar and it's out for another corner. So
So,
yeah,
there was sort of good chances created, just didn't quite get goals out of it. And they created good chances. In truth, the game should have just had more goals in it, shouldn't it?
yeah,
If it
yeah,
was
I agree
free
with that.
all, you couldn't have argued, really, could you?
Yeah, yeah. Like, don't get me wrong, it was better from West Ham. It was better. It was better by a long way. I don't really understand the Kudus substitution. That's the only thing I will say with Lopetegui. I was like, I know that people say, "Oh, he's a bit exhausted and all that," but when it's a 76th minute, the game's still poised, and that's not the first time he's done that. He subbed off Bowen before, Kudus before, Paqueta before, all on that 76-minute mark, and I don't understand that one. I'm not sort of going to go fully in on Lopetegui because I don't think like he done a lot wrong last night. Do you know what I'm saying? But on that one, I really didn't understand it because of
I,
sub.
I agree with you. It was a little bit puzzling for me. Another one I was saying just before you came on, um, about Paqueta, and I was saying it was nice his reaction, and because Lopetegui had clearly shown a lot of faith in him, because
Yeah,
I was surprised he was still on the pitch, and I thought he could. I don't think he was awful, by the way. He did. He was asked to play a lot of different roles and do lots of things
yeah,
last night, so it wasn't necessarily a game that he would absolutely shine in. So I'm not saying he was dreadful or had a dreadful game. Just saying, if you were looking to make a change, I thought he could have been probably a candidate, certainly before Gooders,
yeah,
to come off.
yeah. I agree. Like Paqueta,
Soler
that
was on
one.
a yellow, so he takes him off. Okay, you can quantify it with that. Alvarez was on a yellow as well. Now, that's just the sort of situation where Alvarez dives in on the 80th minute, gets his second yellow. And so I actually think it is smart taking Alvarez out in that situation, right?
Yeah,
So they make sense. But the Kudus one is is a real question mark. What did you think of Fulkrug when he came on, James?
I don't know, mate. I see so many mixed things today, like with people saying, "Oh yeah, he held the ball up well." I'm like, really? Like, did he? Like, he had that effort. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not knocking him. But he come on the 56th minute, and all I can really remember him doing is that header. Like, I don't remember him doing anything else. Oh, tell a lie. There was a good bit of passing play that he done with Mo, and the defender done a great tackle to stop Mo from scoring. Yeah. Obviously, he needs to play games from the start. Like him sitting on the bench and coming on, he's just not good, really.
I also thought he did well, because I've been thinking about this as well today, and I thought he did well, although he didn't execute it very well. I thought he did really well to make himself a little bit of space and try the overhead kick that he didn't get quite right.
Mm,
Uh, but I looked at that back and I thought, actually, he's done quite well to manoeuvre himself into that. So what I'd say about Fulkrug, when you think about he came on in a short time, nipped in, got his header against Leicester, should have scored last night, really, shouldn't he? That header,
mm.
he should have scored. Um,
Like,
it's a
with
nice
luck,
bit of play there, like you said with Mo. Outside of that, I felt we lost a bit when he went up there instead of Bowen, because Bowen's touch, I will say, one thing I've noticed about Bowen lately is touch. like taking balls down and sticking to his foot and taking him away from is superb. He's getting much better at coming deeper and receiving that ball when he's playing in that number 9 role, and I can't see Fulkrug doing that.
Mm.
And I think we lost a bit, and obviously his mobility is nowhere near what Bowen's is. So we lose a bit of that with him up there. But you see him, you can see his. If you get him in and around the box, I think he's going to score goals, right?
Mm. Well, you know, he, the problem is with us, we don't our end product's crap, isn't it? Do you know what I'm saying? We haven't got any good end product at the minute, and that's where the problem is. The transfer window is going to be huge for West Ham. Like this transfer window coming up with the players that we got. The only thing with Krug is I think he needs to start against Brighton. I don't know how much more time you got to give this geezer to bring him back to the side. Like the season's halfway through now. Like we're going to come up to like the halfway stage of the season, and I'm running out of time to keep saying, "Oh, you got to bed him in, and you got to give him time," and all just rubbish, really. Like if he's the solution and he's the guy that you brought in with no Mikel Antonio there for obvious reasons, you start Krug. You play Bone on the right, and you go from there. Really, if I'm being honest.
Well, I've got my idea what I'd like to see against Brighton, but as you mentioned the January window and Toha's comment here, I've been meaning to bring up. So see what you think of this. Is I've been mischievous recently, suggesting we'll go in for Maguire in January. Happy Christmas, one and all. What do you think of that? Bearing in mind we've just had Mavropanos um, conversation, and perhaps remains to be seen. There could be a problem with Tadibo. Matt also
Uh,
says we should have kept Agard or bought Milenkovic. I'm not sure about Agard, but Milenkovic is looking immense, isn't he?
12 million. £12 million
Yeah.
that would have cost. For me, if someone said to me, "You're going to go and get Harry Maguire," I don't think it'd bother me that much, if I'm being honest. Good in the air, good at set pieces. The problem is with us, our centre halves are not good at set pieces. You know what I'm saying? Whereas before, we used to score a lot of goals from set pieces. Like Craig Dawson used to score a lot of goals for us. Even Aguerd to a point. And Zuma, they used to like chuck in with a few goals from time to time. None of our centre halves are doing that at the minute. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, for me, I do think Mav needs to go. Like Mav, for me, is like a bog standard sort of average bottom half sort of centre half, and we need better than that. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe go to Chelsea and get one of their 500 defenders they've got on the books, like, and loan one of them to us.
I kind of thought we should have gone in for Chalabar in the summer.
Yeah,
Um, and he's ended up where Palace, isn't he?
yeah, he's at Palace currently right now. He's okay, but was it is it Desai? I think it is, or Axel Desai. I think he's from Chelsea. He's the geezer is being mentioned. Tosson is being mentioned from Chelsea, also ex
Well,
Fulham.
I kind of would have had him, but I would have had him when he left Fulham, but he went to Chelsea, didn't he?
Yeah, yeah, and like whoever we get, obviously it's a big window for Steiden. Like Steiden's going to have to shape up this one, and this window he's going to have to get right. I'm seeing sort of links with Mo possibly leaving. I'm not. For me, if you know you're going to get 85 million at the end of the season, why don't you just keep him here? Like he's a difference between us winning games and losing games. And should we really have to sell him to bolster our midfield? We should be able to bolster our midfield even with him in the side. So I don't know on that one. Like all I know is that this January no coming is probably one of the biggest ones that we're going to have for a while.
Do you really think we're going to do a lot of business in January? Can you see it?
Not really, not really. I'm hoping more than expecting. Um, I reckon we'll probably bring one player in, and that'd be
It's
it.
got striker in it.
Yeah, it's got to be.
It's got to
It
be,
has,
hasn't it?
yeah, like it wouldn't
If you
surprise
can only
me.
bring one player in, and you look where we are now, you've got to bring in a striker, haven't you?
Yeah, yeah, it has to, mate. Like Danny Ings, for me, is like he just winding his contract down. That's a major weight on our sort of resources. Well, paying 125 grand to him is really crippling us to a point. But it wouldn't surprise me if we sort of loaned him out or let him go with 6 months to go. Maybe like someone comes in with a cut price deal to get him off the books, pay him up, and get him out of there.
He
Do
didn't
you know
want
what I mean?
to. He didn't want to go in the summer, did he?
No, no. But when it's where it's
Didn't you
six
see
months
him
now.
moving on in January instead of just seeing his contract out and going in the summer? I mean, what's the advantage to him?
Uh, well, it's whether or not he wants to play or not, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? Uh,
Well, I mean, from sort of January to May,
mm,
like, and then he's a free agent and he goes wherever and he picks up whatever he picks up and gets whatever signing on. I mean, I don't know. Is he that desperate to go and play from January to May?
I don't think he's that desperate to go. I don't think we're that desperate to get rid of him. But if he's going to stay, you've got to make sure you bolster the spine of the side. The spine of the side of West Ham side is a problem. From defender, where we haven't really got cover. I said it last night on E20. Funny enough, if Kilman goes down injured, we're knackered. We've got no one. Like,
Yeah.
and then you're shoehorning players into a defensive position when we can't defend anyway. Right, that's a problem straight away.
Kilman's got to
So,
be due to miss some games as well.
yeah, right.
He ain't
It's
missed a
gonna,
game in what, 2 years or something, 3 years or something.
yeah, and that's what it is basically. Even not even that. Maybe a suspension. Like he could get a red
Yeah.
card. He could like, do you know what I mean?
No, you're
Um,
right.
it could be like something like that. And a 3 game ban for West Ham or 2 game ban for West Ham could cripple us to a point because like when we've got no sort of cover in there, the midfield's a problem because I'm not convinced on Carlos Soler. I like him, but I'm like, would I pay £27 million out for him right now?
Need to see
I
more.
don't. Yeah, I don't think so,
Yeah.
Jeff. If I'm honest, right? And up front is the major one
What
because
I'd
if
say in his defence, Soler, is we saw very, very little of him, just a few minutes here and a few minutes there. And we see him the odd 45 played all over the place.
mm,
And now we've seen 2 or 3 games kind of playing in a role where you might expect to see him, where he's more comfortable and he's looked much better and he looks like he's growing into the team. So with a few more games under his belt, if he continues that, then maybe we're having a different conversation about him.
mm,
But the jury's out still, isn't it?
it is, yeah, it is really for me with Soler. I'll be honest. Do I look at him and go, I want to sign him for £27 million? No, I just don't think he's. I think you could probably go and find someone who's cheaper, younger, and has got a sell-on value which is more than what he can offer at the minute. Like maybe over the next sort of 2 3 months, like my opinion might change, and I might go, you know what, fair enough, he's the guy. Um, but at the minute, I wouldn't. Yeah, it's a no for me. Like if West Ham do sign for £27 million, I'll be quite shocked. Right, because I just don't think he does enough. Now, when you look at the midfield that we've got currently, Souček is just Thomas Souček. And then you've got
Yeah.
Alvarez in there. Alvarez for me is a player that I've backed for a long time, but I'm starting to see cracks in there. Like last night, it's always the same yellow card that he's picking up, where a player will turn him. He hasn't got the pace to get back to cover, and he makes a silly foul, and not just fouls that sort of
It's that or he's tackling him at the knee.
yeah, it's just silly foul. It's just silly fouls, Jeff. That's what it is, and it's silly yellow cards, right? Whereas, like, instead of just letting the player go and then basically sort of trying to be cute about it, it's like blatant yellow cards. It's like right, and it's just blatant to a point. So I think he's a problem. I really do, and I don't know. I don't know what we're gonna do with him. Like, he looked pissed off last night that
Yeah.
he got subbed,
Yeah. And I
and
thought it was reasonable, I'll be honest with you.
I agree. I agree because he's probably looking at it and thinking, I can't afford to have this geezer get sent off. Do you know what I'm saying? And there's no Guido Rodriguez. Don't know where he was last night.
And he's done it twice this year.
Yeah.
Exactly what he might have been worried about. Like, we're trying to see this game out. The last thing I need is him making a stupid tackle and getting himself sent off. Let me
Mm.
take him out of firing line. I think we're scratching our head about the substitution with Kudus and all that, right? And other weeks you can question why Somerville gets left out of the team and so on and so forth. But when he does stuff like that, makes complete sense. It's the right thing to do, in my opinion. Right now, there may
Yeah.
be others that don't agree with that, but I think it was a shrewd move myself.
Mm. I do. I do. Like I think he well, he's always a walking yellow card, isn't he? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, at
And that's
any
the
time.
problem. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Like last night's performance was good. It's going to be an harder game against Brighton. I think they've got more better finishers than what Bournemouth have got. I think they've got people who can really put the ball in the back of the net. They've just had an heavy defeat against their
They'll,
rivals.
they'll be stinging from that defeat.
Yeah, and they're going to want to like they're going to want to get something.
And
And the
we
thing
don't
is,
got a good record against them, have we? At
no,
the London Stadium.
no, we drew them 0-0 last year.
Yeah, and that was a good
At,
result for us, by the way, in recent seasons.
and we did beat them at their gaff. So honestly, Saturday's game will be interesting because yeah, see if West Ham are starting to turn a corner. Because if West Ham can play Brighton, give them a game, and I don't want to say like yeah, not lose the game to a point, even if it's a draw. You can sort of look at it and go, well, maybe he's starting to turn it slowly. But I'm not getting too carried away with Lopetegui because I do think last night, I ain't gonna say we got away with a few things, but Fabianski was keeping us in the game quite a lot.
But we
Like a
did a
hell
bit.
of,
We couldn't
yeah,
argue if we lost that game.
nah,
We
nah.
just hope
Like,
with the penalty and all that, and 5 minutes to go, there was a win in sight, right? So you're
yeah,
disappointed, but on balance, good away point, and we could have easily lost it. You just mentioned Lopetegui leads into this comment and make West Ham great again. Says having weathered the storm of Lopetegui out is the senior source's master plan coming together. The longer he holds the line, the more chance we have of appointing Pep Guardiola. Pep in, here we go.
yeah,
So the thing is, the storm of Lopetegui out, as you've said, it's never far away, is it? It's
nah,
it's kind of subsided a little bit, but if we lose badly, if we lose 3-0 to Brighton, it'll be raring again about question marks over his job.
yeah, yeah. It'd be basically that'd be the game that everyone be going, oh, he's got to go and everything. He has got to go. Don't get me wrong, but I look at it and I just don't see him leaving. Well, I think he secured his job now at least till January, and probably beyond that to the end of the season. Right, I'll be very shocked if West Ham decide to sack him now. Like when he had that ultimatum the other week, West Ham have been unbeaten in two. So if he goes and draws a game on the weekend or wins the game, he's unbeaten in three, and like the attitude of everyone changes a little bit. Um, the Southampton game will be the one though, because
I
that's where
think
we would
the thing
expect to win.
is, with all the speculation in the media and on YouTube and Twitter and whatever else about Lopetegui and that he's got one game or three games or whatever else,
Yeah.
you look at um, sources close to Sullivan. One of them has been pretty consistent saying he's got until Liverpool City,
Mm,
despite all the storm of he's got three games, he's got one game, they're having a review and all the rest of it. He's consistently said, the senior source says he's got till Christmas or after Christmas.
mm.
Now, he's not always right, and he's said things before that don't turn out to be true, but it looks like he's going to be right on this one because he's not
Well,
going anywhere now. Even if he loses to Brighton, he's there for Southampton, isn't he?
I think he's there. I think he's there to the end of the season, mate. Because I'll tell you what it is. The game the other week against Leicester would have been the right time to sack him. You got two back-to-back Monday night games. You got enough time to get someone in, integrate, like try and integrate your style into there before you get to sort of the Bournemouth game, which was yesterday. Um, if you don't sack him after the Leicester defeat, which was, listen, we played okay in the game. We had loads of chances and things like that, but we was 1-0 down after 2 minutes. We was 2-0 down, and then it was actually 3-0 down at one stage. Um, I don't, I just don't think they're going to sack him. I just don't see it all. And I think what they're going to do, the way I predict this, is they're going to drag this season out. If West Ham finish mid-table, they're going to say, right, it's a transitional season. We go again next year. That's exactly what's coming. Which, do I agree with that? No, because you brought him in on a 2-year deal. Surely he's got to be getting close to Europe. And if he ain't getting close to Europe, then what basically then you're saying, right, next season he has to get Europe, which is a major task to try and get Europe in one season. Like, I don't know. I don't know. I just think this is going to drag out. I think we're going to have wins and losses, um, basically like the old days to a point where do you know what I mean? We'll go somewhere like Bournemouth and get a result. We'll beat the lesser teams at home, and then at the weekend we play a decent side, and it'll be a tough game. We'll probably end up losing the game. So yeah, it's the West Ham of old is back. I think.
Make West Ham great again says, is it me or are we boring to watch?
Mm.
Possession is boring. The best teams in the league are now playing direct.
Mm.
Arsenal are purist ball. What would you say to that, James? Do you think we're boring to watch?
Uh, I think we struggle in what we're trying to do. If you want me to be honest, and like it's going to take time. It's going to take time to integrate a style in. Right, even though I do think sometimes West Ham do revert back to that style. Like last night, for instance, when we was under it, we always had that threat of the counter attack every single time of like turning the ball over, getting it out to Mo or Bowen, and then going down there. The problem is when we do counter attack, where all our players are back, it's very hard to counter attack with only two players. You know what I'm saying? So, will I say we're boring? No, but like with me, style doesn't really bother me, mate. It never has. I'm always sort of thing, right? You play to win, sort of thing, and I want West Ham to try and win as many games as possible, however they want to play. Do you know what I'm saying? Because if we had a free flowing attacking style and we was getting battered every week, people would moan. If we played defensive football, people would moan. So you're going to have people on both sides of the camp who are going to be not happy in what's going on. As long as we're balanced in what we're trying to do, and there's a plan in what we're trying to do, then I'm all for it to a point. But I won't say we're boring at the minute. No.
What I would say to that is, I think we have been involved in some pretty drab games, and in those games, it's it's pretty boring. Not just us, just the games have been boring. I mean, Everton as a prime example. I mean, what an awful game to watch that was.
Mm.
However, I think we're better to watch. It's more exciting
Is
than
it?
perhaps under Moyes. Yeah, in parts. Now, not
Mm,
exclusively, right? Because I've just said
yeah.
there's some drab games and yeah, it's boring. But at times it is a bit more exciting. We're involved in better games. So last night was a bit of a strange game for me though, because I looked at it and I thought it's a bit of a throwback, really, because it was like the old like keeper kicked it and we
Yeah.
competed for it. Their keeper kicked it. We could, and like you don't really see two teams
No.
play like that in the Premier League. So that was like a bit old, but it was quite end to end the game. It's quite. I would imagine if you're a neutral, that wouldn't have been a bad game to watch.
No.
It
Yeah,
might
but I
not be
think.
filled with quality because I do think I thought we were decent first half, and we played well, but I do think Bournemouth were a little bit careless with the ball and didn't look after the ball so well. So that then it gave to us and gave us the momentum, which we failed to score with it, but we created chances. They looked after the ball a lot better in the second half, were much more like themselves, made that a lot harder for us, and therefore they had the better of the second half. But yeah, I thought it was quite a good to and fro game. I mean, I remember the commentator saying in the Wolves game it was end to end, and I thought it's end to no end product, right? Both teams sort of made chances, but they were very, very wasteful and never really looked like scoring a lot of the time. I thought both teams created good opportunities to score last night, and perhaps were unlucky. And like I say, that was 3-3 last night. I don't think anyone would have complained, would they?
Uh, yeah. Well, it all depends on what scenario that we're in. That though, if we're 3-0 up and draw 3-all, well,
Yeah, no, but
people.
what I mean, if we
Yeah,
went tit for tat 1-0,
yeah,
1-1, 2, went back and it ended
yeah.
up 3-3 or something, you'd have said, it was took whatever chances, good
I just
competitive
think,
game, and it was a
I
good
just think,
competitive game.
yeah, I just think we lack end product, mate. Like final kit, like the final pass and the end product. If we can get them two things right, then we'll be all right. Like I do think like last night proved that to a point. There was moments in games where in the game where I'm thinking, right, that final ball's better, then we're in. And it'd be lacking. It'd be lacking all the time. So I don't think we're far away. Yeah. Do I think Lopetegui can do it? I don't. I think it would have to be some sort of like
Big big
comeback.
question marks in there.
Yeah, like it. Like for instance, like as an example, if he goes and beats Brighton at the weekend, goes down to Southampton and wins, then you can start saying right, he's starting to turn a corner. And then if he goes into the Liverpool game, that's still unbeaten, then you've got to look at it and say, well, from where he was a few games ago to where he is now, yeah, it may be like the penny's finally dropped in there. I think there's a lot of issues at West Ham though, and I don't think they're all on Lopetegui. I will say that. I think you got to look at Steiden straight away, right, with the signings that he's brought in. Um, you got to look at sort of the midfield, the defence as a whole. I think the attack line's decent, but we're unlucky with strikers, like we always have been. So I do think I think it's like I said it the other week. I think it's 65% on Lopetegui and 35% on the players. I think some of these players need to sort of shape up and all. Do you know what I mean? Alvarez isn't the same guy that we signed. Mav, same thing. Lucas Paqueta, yeah, he like I see him kissing the badge last night, but
Yeah, what
I
did you
don't,
make of that?
do you know what, mate? The problem is with Lucas Paqueta is as fans, we don't know where he's headed. And that's the problem. We are stuck in limbo with this man. Now, we know how good he is. We know how good he can be. He's got this gambling thing over his head. Yeah. He might be banned for 2 years, right? And maybe he might look at it and think, well, right, I've got to make me bed here because no one else is going to have me, sort of thing. Do you know what I mean? So it's like even last night, for instance, I don't think he had a great game, right? People were sort of praising him about the penalty, right? If you take the penalty away, what did he really do? And there's not a lot. Like he lost the ball a few times, give away stupid fouls, and he's another one who's a walking yellow card every time.
Oh,
Like,
and he's kissing the badge this week. And then you look at him when he come on, and I looked at him when he come on last week, the way he entered the field and his sort of attitude and demeanour. I was like, oh, I don't know if I like that. That looks a bit can't be bothered. And it
mm,
turned out that's how he played as well for the time he was on the pitch. And
yeah,
then this week, I do think I do think he had a difficult. I don't think he was great last night, but I think he had a difficult job. So I want to cut him a little bit of slack when he's playing right wing, up front, dropping in the midfield. I mean, I quite liked, and that was another thing I noticed about last night. They all were quite fluid. They were quite fluid across the front line. They were quite fluid through the midfield, which I thought, God, that's quite nice to see. It's nice to, but I also thought, fuck me, there's a lot going on there, right?
exactly what I was just about to
Like I'm
say.
thinking, like
Yeah,
we're struggling to make it all work, and now all of a sudden we're asking, it's a bit run before
yeah,
you can walk stuff.
I completely agree with you on that. Yeah. See, I look at it on the other side, what you just said there about is it too much? Are you trying to do too much and keep rotate, moving them all around and all that? Um, because obviously when you're in different positions, you've got different players you've got to pick up and mark and everything else. So you're not
Yeah,
really, so you've got to be sort of on the ball with it all the time. I thought it was the right thing to do, but sometimes you know what it's like. If you keep doing something and then basically you're on it all the time, sometimes it ain't going to work. Like because they're just moving them all over the place. And fair enough, it's blowing our minds, it's blowing the defenders' minds, but is it blowing the players' minds and all? Because they're going, well, hold a minute, I'm over there, you're over here, and you know. But then I suppose it happens at every club. I've seen it at Arsenal before they swap Martinelli over with Saka and they like rotate everything around. Hopefully, it works for us.
yeah, yeah. Um, Talking about Brighton coming up at the weekend, I know you sort of touched on your sort of team selection. I don't know if you're doing a preview or anything yourself, if you want to
Yeah,
discuss it this evening or not. But what are your thoughts on your team? I know what I've got something in mind. Well, I quite like a 4-4-2. I've been advocating a 4-4-2 with Bowen and Kudus up front, but I've had a rethink on that after last night, and I think I'd like to see a 4-4-2 with Fulcrid and Bowen up front.
yeah. Um, yeah, I'm going to be doing a preview at the end of the week, but I'll give you sort of a little rundown. For me, Emerson comes back, which is a boost for us on the left hand side, balances up that sort of defence. I I honestly don't know what the issue is with the centre halves because Mavropanos just has 2 games now where he's made mistakes. One he got away with, the other one he didn't. And you know, don't get me wrong, the geezer putting it in the top bins, like you can't help that. But he shouldn't make the mistake in the first place to allow that, give him the opportunity. Uh, Against Brighton, they're going to come with like a sort of it's like a diamond formation they sort of play with two, like one up front with two in behind, and was it Pedro and Matoma and all them boys. Right, we've got to stop Matoma really because he's their supply line. If we can stop him, then we can stop Brighton to a point. Um, I would like to see Fulkrug, mate. I don't understand when people say, "Oh, you got to look like he's just come back from an injury and all that." Like, what difference is playing him 30 minutes or 40 minutes? Like, he come on the 56 minute the other day, right? So he had a good half hour, right? Over half hour to play. And for me, I'm like, why don't you just start the geezer? Like, you will know full well where you're at with him in after an hour. Do you
He's
know what
been
I'm
out a
saying?
while though, isn't he?
Yeah, but the problem is with that is though, Jeff, is like when do you play him then?
No,
Because
but so what
like
I'm saying, he's been out for a while. So he came on, he got what 10 minutes, whatever, against Leicester. Now
yeah,
he's come on and he's got 40 minutes, right?
yeah.
Now, does he start the next game? Do you
I
know,
think yeah, I
is
think he has
is
to, mate.
there is it that transition that he's been rather than he's just thrown him in, he's gone, okay, go out there, get a few minutes, okay, go out
I
there,
think you have
get
to
a bit
start
longer.
him. I think you have to
Yeah, I
start
would
him.
start him on Saturday, but
I think
I'm saying is Lopetegui working towards that? It's quite possible, right?
I think you've either got to start him on Saturday or start him against Southampton. I think like if he said and said right, we're going to start him against Southampton away in a game where he's going to get chances, yeah, and maybe get his confidence up, mate. I'd go okay, fair enough. I can accept that, yeah. But I just Bowen up front. I don't mind him up front, but I don't. I think the wingers have to be right. If it's Summerville and Kudus with Bowen, I'm happy with that. If it's Paqueta and Kudus, I'm not because I don't think Paqueta can beat a man and get to the byline and spray balls across. And Paqueta like drifts in too much.
Yeah, my
Also,
left winger's not Paqueta.
yeah, and like for me, like yeah, like if it's Crescencio Summerville, Kudus on the flanks, and then you've got Bowen running through the middle, then I could probably accept that to a point. But
Yeah, no, I'd
if
have Fabianski, Emerson, Hillman. I'd prefer to Debo, but we don't know what's going on in the camp. So if it
yeah,
has to be Mavropanos, then it is. But whichever it is, Wan-Bissaka, I'd have Somerville wide left, Kudus wide right. Soler's not available,
mm.
I'd probably take your pick out of Suchek or Alvarez and
Well,
Paqueta in the
it's probably
midfield.
going to
So
be
probably Suchek and Paqueta I'd play.
It's probably going to be like the midfield three is probably going to be Suchet, Alvarez, and Paqueta, and then you got the front three of probably Crescencio, Somerville, uh, Bowen, and Kudus. Now, if it ain't Somerville, then it'd be Kudus on the left, Bowen on the right, and Fulkrug through the middle. Now, I just feel like you've got to play the geezer. You got to play him into fitness, and I think playing in games, I just don't think we're seeing enough of him. And like playing for 10 minutes, like 40 minutes last night, I thought like yeah he was okay yesterday, but I wouldn't say he was amazing. But I just feel like we're going to be the team that's looking to go forward in this one, and Brighton are going to be the team that's going to be trying to sort of stop us and hit us on the break to a point. So this game's massive on Saturday, though. It really is for
Yeah,
the confidence.
I don't see how effective he can be patrolling that area on his own. Really, that's what I worry. His mobility is too slow.
Mm,
Um, and I just think if he's got Bowen alongside him, Bowen gives him a little bit of legs. Do you know what? Bowen gets a bit close to him. He'll feed off of the little knockdowns and the little balls that he'll get fed from
yeah.
Fulkrug. I could see a nice little partnership potentially there. I don't think we're going to see it, by the way.
Mm.
Um, but it's just something that I would like. I think something I'd like to see.
What do you think on Saturday, West Ham?
What do I think? What result or
Yeah,
the team?
uh,
The
yeah.
result.
Well, basically, what are you expecting from West Ham on Saturday?
I'm expecting that we probably lose.
Mm. Yeah.
Um, if I'm being realistic, I'd like to think that we won't lose. I think if we get a point or any more than that, it's a decent. I think a point's a decent result, right? Let's look at
I,
Lopetegui, the last three, right? If we say he's got 4 points from the last two, if he picks up a point, if we get 4 points from these three games, it's just okay, right?
uh,
If he gets 5 points,
yeah.
it's decent, right? And if he gets 7 points, it's
Mm.
good.
I would say it's very good if we get
And
7 points.
I'm not
Mm.
sure what reaction we're going to have after whether we're going to go, oh, he's done okay, four
If
points
we get
from
four, if we
three
get four
games.
points, if we get 4 points from the next two, yeah, and we've got what's that? Eight in four, 2 points a game. That ain't bad. That ain't bad considering where we was, right? Considering where we was a while ago, where it was right, was getting hammered and everything. The issue I think is with the fan base is that they need to see what he's trying to do. Last night, you see a bit of it in the first half. I thought we played all right in the first half. Might look quite good, but against Southampton, I expect West Ham to win. The problem is that they're going to have a new manager in there, but by the time they get to us, and that could be a problem. Like manager bounce, we all know it. We had it with Leicester. Um, they're going to want to
Moyes
turn it
knows
on.
how to set up against West Ham.
Yeah, and if it is Moyes, which it wouldn't surprise me if it is, then we've got a bit of a problem there. Do you know what I'm saying? Because obviously we're going to go there. Right, that pace will be bouncing, and we've got
All jokes
somehow.
aside, with the Moyes thing and all that, but I mean, if they've sacked Russell Martin and they're playing that kind, they're not going to get another manager that's going to play like that, are they? So who are they going to get? And they're going
It's
to,
going to be someone. It's going to be someone to try and keep in the league, mate.
yeah,
That's what it'd be. Right, because what it is, I think with Southampton, their style goes out the window. Right, they need someone to keep them in the league, and they don't care how they play. And
uh-huh.
that's why when people have this style argument and style debate, oh, right, I want us to do this, this, and this. That soon goes out the window if we're fighting to stay in the league, because like no one will care about style. They just care about winning games. So yeah, like the Southampton one and the Brighton one, like we have to get 4 points. If we can get to Liverpool still unbeaten, that is a great achievement because Liverpool at home, final sort of game for the end of the year. And I do think West Ham need a big result against a big side. I think the Man United one, I think we got lucky with to a
Yeah, don't
point.
count.
Yeah, that one. even though we won the game, we should never
Yeah,
have won that game ever.
yeah,
And
I
I,
agree.
I feel
It's
like
in the bank,
we
but it's
need a
not
result.
like turning someone over, is it? Like we
No,
went out and beat them. We didn't.
yeah.
We just got lucky.
If anything, they beat themselves, like
Yeah,
more than anything. Do you know what I'm saying? So the Liverpool game, like, and the only thing I will say is that on Saturday, I do fear for Lopetegui if he does go right. Because like last night, for instance, he did try and change it and go right. I am going to try and settle on this draw. Right before we got the penalty, he was like making sure he was like all set for to basically see it out for a draw. Right, if he can't win the game. Now I can accept that, but against Brighton, you're going to have to come forward. And the problem is, like when we come forward against these teams, they just know how to go through the middle of us, like because our midfield's so slow. And that's where the January window is going to be huge, mate. Like, if we can sort the January window out, like West Ham can still recover this season if they can start kicking into gear. Like, if
don't
we can
think we
get to,
can fix the midfield in January, though, can we?
do you know what? I don't think so, but I think we need to do something. Like, well, if we're a serious club, we need to get rid of Guido because it hasn't worked. We need runners from midfield. We need someone who can pick the ball up and carry it. And basically, I'll tell you what we need. We need a Crescencio Somerville or a Mohamed Kudus, who's a sort of midfielder who can get the ball and carry it. Now, I'll tell you who I would have. He's not playing much at Chelsea. It's Jules Brill. I'd have him. Right, I'd see if Chelsea want to loan him to us to the end of the season. Just someone who can pick the ball up and just carry it and give like take the pressure off our defenders really, like to a point. Because I think defensively, that's why we look so bad in defence because where teams are going straight through the middle of us, like they're already engaging with our defenders straight away. So like we need something in January. I know that.
Sort of referring to January, I've been in the chat talking links to loans, and this comment says, "Don't we have
Yeah,
two players on loan already?" And we do. And I kind of asked about this question over the last couple of weeks, and I've seen a couple of other channels have sort of dealt with it as well. We do have two players on loan, and we can have up to four players on loan, but only two can play. So we could sign another player on loan. But I don't
mm,
really see how that's advantageous to West Ham, if I'm honest. Because unless Tadibo really is not going to play for the club again, therefore he's
mm.
never going to be in the squad. The loanees we've got are either on the pitch or on the bench, and we won't be able to make a change for. Because if you're signing a striker on loan, you want him to play, right?
Yeah, that's the
Because
idea.
we
Yeah.
need a striker, so we're not signing a striker to sit on the bench. He's going to play,
Mm.
so that means Soler or Tadibo can't play, and they also can't come on unless one of the other loanees is substituted. So that makes things really complicated, doesn't it? That's not, you can't run a football club and a team like that and a squad.
What happens? What happens with Tadibo though? Because like basically we've got him on a loan with a sort of obligation to buy.
Obligation, yeah.
Yeah, right. So how do we go around that? Because if we've got a player that doesn't want to, well, if he's preparing to stand tools here, then that's not the sort of player you want right around your club. So and we can't go against the loan because the loan is basically saying to us that that's what it is. The only thing I can think of is they can't even loan him to another club. That's such a tricky one. Like in that situation, I don't know. Right? Someone help me out in the chat on that one,
Yeah,
please.
I don't know the answers. Colin's saying good evening, and hope your friend's all right, who you look after. And he's just saying about the Kudus rumours, and what do we think about that if that happens? Well, I mean, if it happens, the coffers will be boosted massively to help strengthen the squad. It doesn't make it an easier time of year to recruit the right people, but it does mean we'll have funds to recruit. It also leaves a massive hole in the team. So personally, I don't think he goes in January. I think he goes in the summer, but who knows?
Mm. Yeah, I agree.
Tosin, I see Wolves did not hang around, saw their man, got their man. Okay, have they appointed, usual says another Portuguese, is that Pereira guy? They went and got him, did they? Okay. Well, we'll see how
Yeah,
he gets on. No news on the Southampton manager as yet, is there? If anyone knows, please let us know
no,
in the chat.
no.
Obviously, when we were talking about the game last night, Tower says maybe both teams realised their midfields were pants, so just decided to bypass it. I quite like that. Colin says, I've heard Loppy had until the Liverpool game. I'm not happy, but I actually feel, James, you might be right. Loppy will be here to the end of the season, which depresses me. For Loppy is definitely not the man. Yeah, I mean, there's huge question marks. It doesn't look like he's got the nous. We're more attacking than we were under Moyes. We create more chances. We have more of the ball, and he's integrated a lot of new players. So there is change there, and I don't think we can deny there's change. There's also questionable substitutions and team selections and formations and all that goes along with that as well. So I
I
don't know.
I'm gonna be honest. Yeah, we're better going forward, but we're worse defensively. Like, I, for me, last 6 months of last season, people were saying, "Oh, look at the results, look at the results." You've got to put into circumstances of what was happening behind the scenes, right? Because before that, there was only one result, and that was Fulham away. That I remember before, like the New Year, where West Ham sort of got hammered to a point. Well, maybe someone in the chat can correct me, but before that, sort of in that 2023 era, there was times where we was losing games, and listen, we're going to lose games. Like we've been having this year, right, a few times. So it's like it's going to happen to us. But I don't think we're good defensively, mate. I really don't. I think we have to score first in games to get results, and like that to me is a problem. Do you know what I'm saying? Like West Ham come back this year and won a game? We've come back and drew games. I can't remember a game where we've come back and won. And we used to be right. We used to be able to do that years ago. And for some reason, that seems to have gone. Like for instance, last night, could I see West Ham getting a result if we go 1-0 down? I don't think so. I think we have to score first in the game in order for us to build on the goal. Do you know what I'm saying? Because when we come forward against teams and we try and attack, our end product's not good, our midfield's not good, and teams just go straight through the middle of us. And that's what it is at the end of the day for me.
Colin here says he's questioning why Guilherme's not getting any minutes, why he's stuck on the bench, not playing in the 21s or out on loan. I could see why he's not getting any minutes on the pitch. If you think Summerville's getting frozen out the starting lineup and having to come on off the bench, we've got Bowen and Kudus to play down the right. Kudus doesn't get a game at number 10. I'm not sure how Guilherme squeezes in to any of those positions ahead of any of those players. So I can see why I'm not saying I agree with him not getting any minutes or that I wouldn't like to see him get some opportunities,
Mm.
but I can see why he's not forcing anyone out of those positions.
Let me put a scenario to you. Would you loan him in January to a club for 6 months?
Uh, Personally, if he's not going to use him, I wouldn't have a problem with him if he goes somewhere and gets some football. I think it's going to prepare him a lot better for competitive football in the Premier League than sitting on the bench, not playing, getting the odd game in the under-23s. That's not. It's not really doing anything to develop him, I don't think.
Yeah, listen, I agree. Like that signing baffles me, mate. Honestly, it really does. I look at it, I look back at that summer, and I remember it clear as day when we signed him. He was the first signing that we made in the summer. And I think, like, I look at it now, and I even said it then. If he's the signing at the end of the window, and you've got all your players, all your pieces in place, and he's the final piece of the puzzle, I can understand it totally, right? And I can understand him not playing games because you want to look after this kid. But to bring him in first and then serve us up what we've got right now, as in striker, as in like your defenders, your midfield, everything. It just
Well, I
really
mean, they
angers
spent
me.
money on a defence, didn't they? So, well, Kilman, they've committed to buying Tadibo, and they spent money on Wan-Bissaka. So they invested on a defence. But what they did, they ran out of money and then said, "You need a midfielder. You best get Guido for free."
That's what it is, yeah. Right. But the problem is that like I don't mind them spending money on the defence, yeah, if they can defend. Right. But the thing is with that is that you've got a 20-25 million pound player that people are gambling on. Do you know what I'm saying? I had this on E20 last night with a mate of mine who's from the US, Costa. Anyone knows Costa? He's a good geezer, right? I mean, he was having a bit of a heated discussion on E20 last night on the afterthought. And his attitude was that, well, we can't say nothing about Steidon, but on this one with Guido, I look at this and I think, well, why is he here? Like, why is this? Like, what West Ham? If anything, West Ham are ruining the kid by not even playing him, not even giving him like minutes. Do you know what I'm saying? Um, I just don't get the signing, Jeff. I really don't. I don't get the project of it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I understand that they're looking at buying a player, and is he the potential replacement or the future replacement for Kudus? Yeah, maybe he is. Maybe you never know. Maybe if Kudus goes, Luis Guilherme steps up. And if he goes in January and West Ham get 85 million, and they go out and they sort of like buy a few players and sort of strengthen the side and let Guilherme come in and give him 6 months till now to the end of the season, then maybe. I don't know. But on the Lewis Guilherme one, that one just makes no sense. It really don't. Like it's like we've sat there and we've wasted £20 million on a player that don't play, which is a problem.
What signing in January do you feel is most important? Centre forward, centre back, or central midfield with some energy? I think we need all three, but can't see it
Yeah.
happen in the January window. And it's kind of exactly what we're saying. We don't kind of need all three. We do need all three, but absolutely don't see it happening. And for me,
What's
if we're only getting one, it's got to be a striker.
I would say it's got to be a midfielder, mate. For
Okay.
me, I think we are lacking seriously in midfield, and we're lacking energy and legs in midfield. Um, I think centre back it's a slight problem to a point because if one of them goes down injured, we are literally knackered. But like we've got no like, and the fear is Kilman. Like you said earlier on, if Kilman goes down for any reason or gets suspended or anything, then where do we go? Like who comes in covered? Like, do you chuck Casey in there? That's a risk. Like, you could ruin the kid if you bring him in and chuck him in. But yeah, again, you might make the kid. I honestly don't know, mate. Honestly, don't know. I think we need a spine of the team needs to be sort of shaped. If I'm being honest.
And well, this is the thing. Why I say a striker but it's for similar reasons that you're saying about Kilman. So we better get used to seeing Jared Bowen up front if we don't sign a striker in January, because outside of that, we've got Danny Ings and
Yeah.
Fulkrug. And okay, we want to see Fulkrug get more game time. I'm not against that. Maybe the guy will come good, and maybe he gets a bit sharper over the next few weeks if he gets regular game time. But he also might break down with another injury and be out for another 6 weeks. And we're
Could
really,
do.
really thin on the ground there. So I don't. But this is like desperate in midfield, short at centre half, and we won the transfer window. Apparently, it's a bit of a worry, isn't it?
It is a little bit, mate. It really is. Like when I think about it, like we're supposed to, like we've praised up our window, and the only ones I can say has really been a success is probably Kilman, Wan-Bissaka, and Somerville. And all three of them signings are not even starting. So that's where it's a bit like I think it's a huge window for him and all. Well, I really do. Like because there's only so much praise you can give a geezer before you have to start looking at him. So
Well, the
so he can,
spotlight's coming on him now because,
yeah,
previously the obstacle was Moyes, right? And apparently he offered Moyes player after player and Moyes turned them down. And that's why we didn't recruit this one, that one, and the other one, right?
yeah,
Now, I don't know where his little black book and his data and analyst team have been all summer, right? But I said it last week when it came down to we didn't get John Duran. Don't know what all the backups were. We've ended up with Fulcrook. His little back book led us to Fulcrook. And now, seemingly, let's not get on everyone's case bit too, believe all the rumours you hear and then go ballistic and nuclear over it. But it's possible, at least, that Tadibo may have a bit of an attitude problem and maybe a bit of a disruptive influence, right? It's another one of his recruitments. If we say that he brought Mavropanos to the club. Andy Irving is another one. I don't really know where he fits into the grand scheme of things for any manager.
mm,
And not slagging the lad off, but I'm not sure he's the kind of quality that we really need.
mm,
So there is question marks over it, and I think we're going to have limited funds in January, so it's a difficult time to get the right players, and we can't just go and get who we want. We're going to have whatever limitations we've got. So for me, next summer is absolutely, if he's still here, by the way, if he hasn't gone by then, but if he's
mm,
still here next summer, it's absolutely massive because he's going to be under huge scrutiny in the summer transfer window. Who he brings in, how he performs, who he identifies, whoever the manager is at that time. That's my opinion,
mm.
anyway.
Uh, for me, I think he's got to perform now. It's either now or never, sort of thing. Like I think the January window. I think you can look at Lopetegui for so long, yeah, and then you look at the players that he's brought in. The Krug signing will always be a panic buy, and I will never be convinced any other way because I just feel like they put all their eggs in one basket for Duran. They tried to put pressure on Villa. And what really winds me up is that they could have got Duran a few weeks before because Villa had problems with finances. Like, was it FFP? I think it is
Yeah, but
financial
they
fair
sold
play.
their two players, and then they didn't need the
Yeah,
money anymore, did they?
exactly.
Who was
So
it? Diaz, was it?
it was
Luis Diaz,
uh,
and who was
yeah,
the other guy they sold?
Douglas Luiz was one of them,
Yeah, that's it.
uh,
Douglas
and
Luiz.
there was someone else. But if you would have got in there first, if you would have identified Duran, you should have been looking to try and get him in there, and they would have accepted 40 million. I think maybe 40 45. But like, but we will never know. Like the problem is, we will never know whether that was West Ham stopping themselves, Sullivan stopping it, or Steiden just went right. That's enough. I can't go any further than that. Um, but the Krug one, I can't. The one thing I will say, yeah, is I don't think he's going to be a success at West Ham. I think it's just destined to fail. Like fail, if I'm honest. Maybe I'm being negative, but I look at him and I think I just don't see how he's too slow for the game. The Premier League's one is the fastest league on the planet, and you've got to try and basically adapt to the Premier League, and you're a slow player. It just ain't going to work.
I don't think he
You,
can succeed as an isolated striker. That's my opinion.
yeah,
I hope he proves me wrong, but if we're going to play him that way, I think he's going to struggle.
yeah, I completely agree. And I just look at it, and this is the one thing that I've got with Steinen to a point, is that you've been here 18 months now. It'd be 2 years this summer that he'd have been at West Ham. Sure to God, you would have identified someone younger, up and coming, like who we could have gone and got. Like to go out and say, right, Duran is the guy. Yeah, fair enough. Premier League, I get it. But to then go completely left field, completely go like different profile, different age, different everything, it just feels like it was a panic. It was like, you know what, we can't get him, so we're going to go and get Forcrew, who I know I can get. He's 32 in February. It don't matter.
And
You
it's
know what I'm
sort of, and it also sort of leads into or back to the conversation you had before about Guilherme. If you're going to spend 20 million on a wide, young, wide player that might be whatever prospect, why didn't you go? I know it's easy to say now, but Liam Delap cost about 17 million pound or
Oh yeah.
something, right? Uh, we should be all right. You can't choose them all. It's easy to say, finding the gems is difficult, but would it be surely better off making a 20 million gamble on a young
Mm.
striker at the beginning of his career than a 25 million panic buy on a 30-year-old at the end of his career? Just like, and we
It's
were chasing Duran all that time, didn't want to pay the extra 5 million or whatever it was, right?
mm,
As you say, we'll never really know what the truth of that is. There's so many conflicting stories out there, but yeah. Leon says, what's happened with City the last 10 games gives me hope we can rescue something this season. They've seen us coming up in the fixture list, and let's give them hope that they can rescue something from their season. But
yeah.
fuck me, we're desperate for a win. Oh, don't worry, West Ham are coming up. Ian says, I think a few issues may have been solved by both Loppy and more so Moyes blooding more of the youngsters in a better way. Cover for players becomes a lot easier and cheaper then. Yeah, Skulls looked good last night. I was so pleased for the young. I've been a fan of Skulls. I really loved him when he came on in the Europa League there. I thought he should have got some more minutes. I think he got a bad injury, didn't he? I think he had
Yeah.
surgery on his back or something like that. He was out for like a year. But he's fucking massive now, isn't he?
It's a good player. I
And he
remember him.
did not look out of place. So I was so pleased for him. And yeah, hopefully it'll lead to more chances for him.
Yeah. I remember him a few years ago when we played in a European game. He played with he played at left back, and he was very good, very good. Do you know what I'm saying? Maybe that's the only saving grace with Lopetegui so far, is that he has like has brought on youth players, like, and he's bringing them in. So we will see.
But it's a
We'll
new
see.
phenomenon, right? So we might never see him again. Like boys blooded a youngster and then they were never seen again. So
Yeah,
he needs to do he needs to do a bit, but it's a positive thing. It's something all the fans like, and it was a little success story for 15, 20 minutes, wasn't it? So something to be happy about.
yeah,
Leon says, do you think Suchek, who is very vocal, would be a better choice for captain? Um, we've been sort of the Bowen debate for captain's been going on. I wasn't never really a fan. I always said I wasn't a fan, particularly because I just don't think positionally it's a great place for a captain. I always prefer centre half, centre midfield, or even a fullback. Um, Souček seems to do a lot of the media stuff and interviews, so he takes responsibility. Well respected in the dressing room, been around a long time now, so I don't think he would make a bad captain. But another thing we talked about on this show over the last few weeks as well is Bowen is the captain now, and as much as some people have said they think it's a burden on him, I wonder how damaging it would be if you then removed the captaincy from him. So there's pluses and minuses to that. I think over the last few weeks, I don't think it can be. I think Bowen's done a pretty good job with the captaincy. He got criticism earlier in the season, but seems to have stepped up quite a lot for me, especially with all the Tebow news and stuff.
I think for me, what done it for me was the Antonio situation, the way he handled himself on that the other week, dealing with the media and like, to go out, be the captain of West Ham, having to deal with the situation that you've had to deal with as the captain, to then go out and put a performance in against Wolves, to then go out after and do an interview and talk about your performance and then about your one of your senior players. Yeah, I think he's all right, Bowen. I don't think he's I don't think he's the best captain on the planet that West Ham's ever had, but I don't think he's the worst. I think we've had some worse ones than him. So yeah.
His like I said, Fulkrug is a mobility for me is a bit of a problem, but I've also got to give him a little bit of leeway for him being out for a while. So I don't think he's going to get any quicker, but maybe he'll get a bit more match sharp. And Colin's just saying he's kind of agreeing what we're just saying about Fulkrug being a panic buy and got because Steiten knows him and that he had a good tournament with Germany and he thinks he's a clusterfuck signing and he can't waste money like we have done. But he's quite right. We can't keep throwing good money after bad. And failing so spectacularly signing strikers. It's absolutely ridiculous. Right, well, James, we've got down to the bottom of the chat, and I saw earlier on in the chat that Stell's going to be on around 9:30, so
that's fine.
I'm sure the audience will be flooding off to his channel. Thanks for joining me once again. You bailed me right out as well with a lack of guests tonight. So
no worries
I don't
at all,
think I'd
mate.
be going on this long on my own. I'd just like to say before I go, thanks to everyone in the chat for supporting us all through the year. I'm not sure if I'll do a show next week because I've got the family and all that arriving. It's right on top of Christmas. So I might put out a little pre-recorded video just to say thanks and Merry Christmas to everyone. But in a live sense, I'll say Merry Christmas to you all now. Thanks for joining us. And anything you want to say before I wrap it up, James?
No, mate. Listen, you're getting up there slowly. It takes a bit of time, but you know how it is. You know what I mean? You just keep cracking on and doing your stuff and going from there. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it's about. Do you know what I mean?
Nice
Like subscribers come and go, and but if you've got loyal subscribers and people that are prepared to watch all the time, that's what it's about, mate. You know,
Yeah, nice one. Well, thanks for your support through the year as well, James. And
no worries at all, mate.
I'm sure I'll speak to you before or over the Christmas period. And I'll say good night to everyone. Thanks all for joining. And I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Cheers,
Take care,
guys.
man.
Good night.